It's one of, hello everybody. This is my father, Reggie Weinreich. Would you like to say hello to everybody, Reg?
Hello, everybody.
And we're gonna be really honest with you. We should have actually, I'm gonna put the lights on. We should have actually been on air, Reg, about half an hour ago. So we weren't on air at our time, 11 o'clock, which is Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Time is 8 o'clock or something in New York, Saturday night. So we're basically about 30 minutes late. Why are we 30 minutes late?
Because we were busy discussing the matters which I'm going to tell you now.
Very good. So basically what happened was we started talking about what we were going to talk about in the show, and we got deeply in talking about it. And it's very key issues about our messaging. What are the lessons we've learned from my father? How does that roll over into everyday life? Why is the story relevant? And what do people care? To be honest, we have to be very harsh with ourselves. What do people care about another Holocaust story? So we had a good little conversation, didn't we?
Absolutely. And I explained to my son,
Me.
and I explained to the people which are going to listen.
Yes.
We have got to be careful, because it happened to once, it can happen again.
You mean the level of hatred of human beings to human beings?
Yeah. The hate, it started with hatred, and then it goes deeper. Jealousy. Jealousy. If you're well-to-do, people are jealous. They want you.
But I think the main thing that we were talking about is this, and that is that a lot of people are alienated. I'm going to pull him in because Reg is getting, poor Reg, I said to him, it is not easy being a father to this son, is it?
No.
So, but I think the thing is that people are seeing an escalation, they're seeing that the world is changing, and I'm speaking to a lot of people about it, and we were discussing, that's why we were late coming on, what's the message, you know? Okay, I'm going to ask you, from all the wars and all the Holocausts and all the genocides, and there's genocide happening till this minute, can I ask you one major question? What has the world learnt?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, actually, it's interesting because when we did this a few weeks ago, you know what you said to me?
Yeah.
There's one change, you said to me. I said, okay, what's the change, Reg? What's the one thing that the world has learnt from all the Holocaust and everything, all the genocides that we didn't know on the other side? I said, you know what? I'll tell you what. The thing that we learnt the best now is that robots can go and kill for people.
Correct.
So therefore, you don't even you can sit at home and everybody's blowing each other up through robots.
Yeah.
You said that's the difference. So, by the way, you look like you're thirsty. Have some drink, something to water. So the thing is that in my discussions, because obviously we're deeply in editing the book, what's our message, right? So what are we saying? What are we saying from all this? So we discussed it now, and what seems to be resonating and coming back, because ultimately this has to be an optimistic book, it has to be uplifting, and it has to resonate, right? And so what we said was, I get messages from your mum upstairs, Granny. She's helping me with this book, you know. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Do you know what she said to me? She said, don't listen to anybody that if they think it's taking too long or that it's not good. She said to tell you upstairs that we're doing a good job and not to be pressured.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's a Russian saying.
Yes.
Тише будешь, дальше едешь.
Which means what?
If you go slowly.
Yes.
And you dig deeply.
Yes.
You go further.
So for those people who have joined us, thank you very much and welcome. Joseph Weinreich, Henry Roth, Stories I Told My Son. And so we've been grappling this morning, sorry we're a little bit late, about the messages. There's some incredibly wonderful one-on-one messages that remind us of various values and things to be passed on. But the ultimate thing is, what is our umbrella? What are we actually saying? So we can't say, because we can't say this, that there are messages or lessons that was taught by wars before, can we? We can't say that we've learned anything. So we agree, we think, that very little, if nothing, has been learnt from all these tragedies, all these deaths. So if we accept that, then we know there's nothing really that we can see in the world that's changing too much that we should be seeing already from past tragedies. So what seems to be resonating is the concept of throwing the pebble in the pond and getting the ripple effect. So what we see, what we're trying to, I've been doing a lot of discussions, lots of reading, lots of individual one-on-one interviews. That's why I had the time to catch up with you, which I'm talking about now for everybody here. It seems to be what's resonating, and please, we would like your feedback, is this one critical thing. Now, more than ever, at any time in the history of this world, is not the time to lose faith in your own pebble that you can cast into the pond to create ripple effects. Now's not the time to lose that faith. Sure, if you're losing faith on things that you're seeing, my sisters in New York say, close the TV, don't watch. You yourself say you watch less news. But if you allow that pebble to lose its grip from you, then that becomes a problem, doesn't it?
Then you lose a lot.
You lose a lot?
You lose a lot.
Can I ask you, so talking about that pebble concept, you were a shtetl, a village in Krzanów, which was about, 50, 60 kilometers from the border between Poland and Germany?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that in your, because you know, what's interesting, Madonna would love you.
Why?
Well, she's crazy, or has been crazy about Kabbalah.
Yes.
Do you know that only recently, after all the stories, I'm going over the transcripts, did you know that I only realized maybe 3 weeks ago, and I've known you for 59 years, what kind of incredible futuristic background you came from. You came from a Hasidic background that was based on Kabbalah. It was based on not necessarily things being here and now, but believing in emunah, which is you believe in something that's not necessarily in the physical space, but something that will happen. You believed in mysticism. You believed that kindness was the currency of your shtetl, and you had a big one. If you are being charitable and you are giving me money because I need it, or you're giving me clothing because I need it, you said to me that I cannot ever be put in a position, the person receiving the charity, of feeling embarrassed. Tell me what you're talking about.
You got to make them feel that they're doing you a favor.
So one of the people receiving charity should be made to feel that they're doing you a favor. How did you do that?
They're doing you a favor that you're able to be charitable.
So if I'm receiving the charity,
Yeah.
you're saying to me, listen, I've got everything I need.
I'm not going to give you because you need it, because I know that you
don't need it.
You don't need it, but you're doing me a favor
To take it.
to take it because
I have too much.
No? Then I've got respect for you.
Oh my God, I tell you, it's
It's
full with philosophies and...
Jewish philosophy
Yeah.
from a small city. The small city were known, right?
But so
to
then
help the people.
So then I have a question to ask you. So that means people then must have been concerned, because we were talking about this before, about their own pond, and when they put the pond in the pebble in the pond, that it was going to cause a ripple effect. And they weren't worrying about everything else on the outside world. They were worrying about making sure that they did it right for themselves. Is that right?
Correct. First of all,
Yes.
they got to make sure
Yes.
that the people in the shtetl are well.
And the people down the street,
And
yes.
then they have got time to worry about the world.
And is that really what it was?
Yes. The world did
Wow.
not interest them.
No?
No.
Can I ask you though, what's interesting about that? If the world didn't interest them, do you think that was a cause for anti-Semitism? Because did they interact with the world? Or?
Now look, in our shtetl was not anti-Semitism because there were only 5,000 Poles.
But the anti-Semitism came from outside. But generally then in Poland, do you think that because there was a lot of insularity?
No, because they were jealous of what we had.
Okay, but I want to say something about the jealousy of what we had.
Because the Jewish people in Poland were business people.
But you said something interesting to me. I'm referring back to your notes that we made recently. You said to me as follows: actually speaking, the hatred that is caused today the hatred that was caused in the pogroms, in the shtetls before the Holocaust, the hatred that was caused in the Holocaust, all hatreds, Holocaust, genocide, things that are happening in North Korea today. What actually is happening is that governments are creating the agenda of actually how they are saying a particular culture is, and then making sure that people are pitted against each other. So actually speaking, people are working on a narrative that governments tell them, and churches tell them, or synagogues tell them. And so what's happening is that it is being incited, hatred, you explained to me, is being incited often, not by the people, you told me the Polish people are the finest people in the world. And what was being incited was specifically extremists who were incited and almost paid to hate by the then Polish government, or whatever it is. You return back from Russia into Poland, and the Russians did the same thing. So you explained to me, it's not people don't hate each other, it's the governments.
The governments do, they select people to be hated. So the rest of the population is happy. Whatever the government does.
So the typical thing, we're talking about the roots of hatred and about how stories are made up, a narrative is made up. So surely the number one narrative of false information was during the propaganda machine of the Nazis. Because I have to tell you, I found a crazy, like awful propaganda from Goebbels, right? And so, and apparently this particular propaganda film was, it was, somehow it got onto YouTube. It has not been allowed, it was censored, we were not allowed to see it. And what actually it was a very intricate and horrendous propaganda movie against Jewish people that basically showed pictures of rats running.
There was another story.
What?
What Hitler said, Goebbels said, is that the Jews are conquered if we allow them to conquer the world.
Yeah, but
because of the money they're buying.
That's one story, but can I say something as well?
Therefore, we have got to kill the Jews, Bolsheviks.
Okay.
Communism.
Okay, but there's another.
They didn't like communism.
Right.
They didn't like Jews, so they put that together.
Okay, but can I tell you as well what I was also, because I mean, I suppose actually I should be a bit more respectful because you actually went through the Holocaust and I'm only reading about it. But the messages I've been getting were the systematic creation of a narrative that was based on falsehoods, fantasies.
Yes.
Was they started with the scientific side. Hear me out for a second. So what happened was, actually, the very first victims, the very, very first martyrs that actually were exterminated in the camps around Europe in Nazis was who? Do you know the answer? Okay, I'll say again. When the first official exterminations, and you were right, happened before the start of World War II, there were concentration camps in Germany. Who were the first victims to be exterminated in the concentration camps? Who?
You would be surprised.
Who?
The Germans.
No.
The Germans were.
Okay. So maybe
they were against.
Okay, them and who else?
100% Germans.
Okay, and who else?
Gypsies.
No.
Jews.
No. The first lot with the Germans, which I think is probably the same thing, is actually they did a cleansing, a euthanasia, an extermination of people with mental disabilities and who were not, had physical disabilities.
And another thing.
Yeah.
The ones they went for was a Jewish man married a Catholic woman.
Or a Catholic woman that married a Jewish man, they were the first in. Okay. So here's the good news though, because we've got to lighten it up a bit, because you said to me, listen Henry, we've got to make sure this book is a little bit, it's positive, right? So, and it is. So the ultimate thing is, that's why I've been very quiet the last 2 weeks, because I've been really taking your information and then seeing how it's relevant for today. And I think the number one point of relevance, which we're going to really bring through in your memoir, book 1, is that because of this backdrop of what's happening outside the world, it could be good, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, But the stuff that's really concerning, we can't necessarily say that you and I can change that. We can't say here and now, you and I can change that, can we?
No.
But what we can do is make sure to be kinder, make sure that we are positive in the things that we think are important to us, right?
And respect people.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the bullying, so that's a whole story with it. So within our own world, we must make sure more than ever not to put the pebble down that makes the ripples, keep it up and throw it harder, right?
And to make bullying is a terrible thing.
Talk to me about bullying, Reg.
Bullying is a terrible thing in schools. When the child is bullied, the child's character changes,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't say to the parents what's happening and to the headmaster, sometimes they commit suicide. Right.
But here's some good news though on all of this, seriously. So how we're saying that there's a lot that hasn't changed, but there are things that I've been doing some research on that have started to give us good news, and I'll tell you what it is. Believe this or not, and I'm sure there's other programs around the world, we're talking about bullying for a moment. Adelaide, of all places, not that it should or shouldn't be, they have started a program which is compulsory for, you're going to love this, you're going to love it, for school children in primary school. And what it is, it's called Peace Pack, and it's a kit. And it is rolled out compulsory for the children to be taught as a subject about bullying. And basically, so here's the thing. So they have a full kit, it's unbelievable. And that kit teaches the children and the teachers about how to recognize bullying, how to report, all that sort of stuff. Can I tell you something though? It's interesting. I wanted to get one of these kits. I wanted to buy one of these kits. You know what? How much do you think they wanted to charge for a kit like that? How much do you think they wanted to charge for a kit like that? So it's a kit to teach the teachers...
$100.
More.
$500.
$325. But you know what I thought? $325. But you know what I thought? I thought there's a reason for it, because that kit, if you have one teacher, she does multiple classes, and there's all that information. So I wanted to buy it, but there was no way I was going to buy that. But I will one day, because I think I need to get a bit more education on the education side of bullying, right?
There was one case I remember quite clearly, maybe you remember it too. In the school, I think in Sydney, there was a big fat fellow, and there was a little kid, slim, and he was bullying him. And they went out of the class, and the
little one and the big one?
Yeah.
Who won?
The big one was being bullied by the little fellow.
The little one was bullying the big one?
Yeah. And he didn't have an answer. He didn't answer. And there's a film, happened, somebody, a little kid was filming it, and went around the world.
The big one hit the small one?
No. The small one, the big fellow stood up against the wall.
Because he was scared, he didn't want to...
Yeah. He
wanted to defend himself, okay, and?
And the little fellow came and bullied him, punched him.
Yeah.
And the fellow couldn't stand it anymore.
No.
He punched him in the nose. He got all,
blood. Yeah.
And there was a finish of police.
So in other words, what you're also saying to me is...
They have to...
hit hard, regardless of what you look like, how tall you are, how short you are, how fat you are, you have to hit hard, right? Okay, so we're going to round this up because we have a lot of work to do. But a summary of today, first of all, it's an absolute pleasure always to have you here on board. Always a pleasure, is it not, Reg?
A pleasure is all mine.
Is it now? There's a lot going on, and I'll just give you all a little bit of a summary so far where we're at. Where we're at is, as I have been going through what happens is this: we have the original work, which is 6 months worth of audio interviews. That's sent over to New York to a lovely lady by the name of Kim, who has actually transcribed everything. Now we know how fast we talk. We know that we speak in different accents. This woman was sent from somewhere not on planet Earth, because Kim, besides her professional contribution with the actual editing, was there at the coalface actually typing it all out. And not one word was wrong. Unbelievable. So we took that work, then I took that, and then we had to do what was called farming, because when you were actually talking, Reg, in your genius level, there was stuff that you used to remember. That's how my brain works. So I said, okay, Kim, this is what we need to try and find. He said, your father, God bless him. But as we got on, it got more, because we got more the first few ones. Oh my God, I said, Kim, have you had a raw sandwich or a raw steak yet? Because I think it's time that we have to start writing about my father's childhood. And she said, oh my God, not your father's childhood. I said, yes, my father's childhood. She said, on last count, it was spread over 16 chapters or something, and it was 80 pages long. And I said, and every word was meant it. No, so what happened was we would put things, that was the most dramatic, and then we put things into what we call capsules. They're sent back to us. And then I would sit down with you and we'd sort of have it summarized and say, okay, Reggie, is this, we've just talked now, for example, about how you left Shanov, the war started. Is this what happened? And you say to me, a little bit. I'm like, a little bit? We've been speaking for 6 months. How is it a little bit? He said, okay, because although the doctor said to me that I have to be very careful because at my age, not an issue, God forbid, only a little bit, but a little bit, it's a little bit possible that now that your wife has finished her book and you want to write your book, it's come to the point with your life that perhaps you might have a little bit of a softening of your memory. And so you ran to the table and you started writing your autobiography like a man with a mission. I can't talk now. I have to write my autobiography because in any minute, okay. So I'm freaking out, because I wanted to sit down with you and do what we did. So I'm like, okay, Reg won't even remember that he's written the autobiography. And so you said to me, actually, now I'm ready to do the next book with you. We could do the book with the autobiography, with the memoirs. So I'm calling up Kim. I'm like, Kim, look, I just need to tell you something. My father, we just don't know. In any second now, any second we could be taping and he doesn't even know my name. It's possible, right? She said, Henry, from what I can see, I think you need to take a really good, serious reality check. Because from what I can see, not only is your father laying down stories a mile a minute, which they say in America, a mile a minute, but on top of it, it's getting sharper and it's getting more layers and more layers of stories. I'm like, Kim, I think you're right. So then, ladies and gentlemen, what happened was Reg, who was supposed to be this meek, mild-mannered person, turns into super memoir monster. And I would walk into your place, going, oh my God, not another story, please, God, I'm begging you, like the stories are fantastic, but we can't even process the first lot. And then you would be like, I have got the story. I'm like, which story now? You go, I have got the story. All night I couldn't sleep. I've got the story for sure. Is going to make the whole entire book. So you've got to kind of stop and listen, because if it's going to make the whole entire book, how can I be disrespectful, although I've got a backlog that's going to last me to 2055? Okay, so I'm like, Reg, I'm sorry, but I've spoken to all our team, and unfortunately, the receiving of new stories department at the moment is on pause. We would love to, maybe next time. Next time doesn't exist. Next time. And so you'd start sneaking in the new story. Okay, Reg, tell me the next new story, number 1,312,000. And I call up Kim, I'm like, Kim, I can't stand it. He's right, it's a really good story. So we've been grappling with that, all that stuff. So we take the original audio, and honestly, it's a miracle, it's amazing. Right. And hold on. Then I interview you again, because from the time the first lot of stories, and then you remember even much more, I'm like, Kim, you won't recognize the story because that story has got so much more memory. It comes back. Then I take it and I think to myself, okay, why is it relevant? Why is this important? What are we learning? But I have to tell you, it is an extraordinary experience, and we had a secret conversation. What kind of pact are we on, by the way? What kind of pact are we on?
To start with,
yes, Mr. Weinreich.
I like him.
You like him? And what about, we have Paris that's helping us, and we had Peter in Canada. What about Paris was here, and Kim?
Paris.
And you met Peter in Canada. We have a secret reader, and our secret reader is Peter, and I've now actually outed him. And basically what we have is we have people on the ground that actually read the memoirs and give us feedback so we know it's relevant.
Yes, it's human.
and that it's gelling and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
you keep asking me so nicely and gently, so that I won't be allergic to the fact that you're trying to squeeze some information out of me. When actually do you think the book's going to be ready? Now, why I'm not telling you when do I think the book's going to be ready is because, personally for me, I feel that at this time of my life, perhaps it's better to get the solid product in there, in people's hands. That's what you've always did in business. You said, Henry, too much talking, show them the work, give them tachlis, give them the stuff, then you can talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. Finally, at 59, that piece of advice actually came sailing through the door. So first of all, I agree with you. I want to keep it solid. Let people tell me how the work is when they've received it, okay? And second of all, and most importantly, we have what we would call a friendly, cooperative competition going. And so we are competing with the women in the family because their product is done. And they would like to know, probably secretly,
I'm not going
how
to tell them.
how we're going. Because
I'm not
the thing
going to
is,
tell
the
them.
interesting thing is that we want to make sure which number of books sold do you think will sell the most? Our book or their book?
Oh,
Okay. In the war, you know yourself. You told me yourself, especially under the Nazis, the communists, one word, they can know the whole picture and then it's over.
Onuna.
Yeah, so yes, but in one word, your secrecy is essential because during the war, one wrong word and it was over.
You
You had to be quiet, right?
You got to believe if
You ever read? Were you during the war? You told me you never said a word to anybody about anything. More than two people on the street, in any street in the USSR,
Correct.
you were arrested because you were spies.
Yes.
Well, guess what, buddy? Think about this as the USSR we mean business.
Yeah.
Okay. That means, think of this, just the same kind of strategy. The same kind of strategy that you used in the USSR in 1939 to be
Stimmt.
That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
It's
Until the war is over.
Yeah.
Until
Yes.
the book
Yeah.
is
So
written.
when that book is ready, let me assure you one thing. It will be, everybody will know exactly, but now we have to be still, quiet.
We
What?
have to finish as quickly as possible.
Why?
Why? Because it's fresh in our mind and we are geared to do it.
Okay, so guess what? So after my whole spiel, it didn't matter what I just said. I tried to write down, like as a lawyer, I tried to lay down the tracks for why this has taken me so long. And what my father does beautifully is this. I know it's so much work and there's so much pressure and don't rush yourself, but right in the end when it counts, it goes, but we will need to see the work tomorrow. Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, would you like to say anything else before we say goodbye?
Goodbye and a happy Sukkot.
Oh, goodbye. What's Sukkot now?
Sukkot?
What festival is Sukkot?
Sukkot
Is
is
the grains, isn't it? Harvest.
covered, you know.
Yeah.
The people were going from Egypt and it was really hot and they put a cover.
Anyway, so we probably haven't got enough time to finish this conversation. I will say this. I personally have grown in a lot of areas, but because of the book, in one of the areas, I'm afraid, Mr. Weinreich, you may or may want to know where my own personal growth has been. After years of you explaining to me the same thing, when you used to walk through the door at the end of a huge day and the brats that were your children were sitting in front of the TV, we had not changed from our school uniform, we were eating stuffing sweets down our throat, we were screaming on the top of our voice, and you said, excuse me, I have just arrived home.
Give me a minute.
Let me have and wash up my hands, and let me tell you for now and forever, you used to say to us, never, ever let somebody rush you. So thank you, and that's gone to heart. We hope that you've enjoyed, again, sorry and apologies.
He still remembers it.
Everything.
The little
Everything.
things.
Yeah, I know, you said, listen, don't ever let you, I took it to heart. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Like the other thing that I should have taken to heart was get off my bum and try and help you around the house and stuff, but that's for another conversation. I have to say, it's extraordinary, exceptional, amazing privilege, whether you like it or not, and you pretend it's not, to have the opportunity. So many of my friends have said, you are so lucky. You got your father there in front of you, make the most of it. And I said,
my wife and I are lucky to have children like that.
Oh my God, that's
not
really,
only Henry.
But you know what?
but-
You know what's interesting? That's where you got the PR from. That's fantastic PR line. I'm so impressed. The most important thing I want to say is, genuinely, it's extraordinary because I know that so many of my friends have said to me how amazing it is. But I have to say, it also has required every bit of our brain power, every bit of making a book that actually people want to know about. And here's the last words, and I think you agree.
The last word is Henry not only helped clean the room to do the right thing, but he was making a mess out of it.
And what my father's saying is that up until the age of 18, I didn't pick up one thing for myself. Yes, that was because of the Holocaust. It's another story. I want to say one last thing, though. It's really is extraordinary journey. And as a result, I've taken your advice to heart, and I will go even slower. I will be even more contemplative. I will make sure I don't rush, just like you told us so many years ago.
I hope so.
Thank you very much, guys. It's
All
a
the
pleasure.
best.
Have a great, whatever you're doing today and wherever you are on this planet. As you can see, we're cooking along, and it's an absolute. And Jackie Zook, we have to stop the show right now. Now, Ms. Jackie Zook, and I'm sorry, we haven't said it to anybody else. We haven't actually seen. Jackie is one of our dear friends who adores you, by the way, in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And she is married to her husband, Andrew, and they are fantastic people. And more than that,
It doesn't worry me that she's married.
no? So you're letting her, that's okay. But honestly now, what I have to say and why Jackie's name has come up is, no, don't you say something shocking. The wonderful thing.
Joking.
What joking? As you were joking. What? No jokes.
No
We
jokes.
don't joke, no. But what I want to say honestly is, it reminds me, and I have reminded you of all the different people that we come into contact. They're such positive people. Now, Jackie in particular, and Wendy, I mean, like, so many people that are involved in me discussing things with this book. That woman is like, if you can imagine sunshine captured in a bottle, that's it. You know how we love the American kind of, that positivity.
Absolutely.
That's how you got alive out of the camps, right? And you just get off the phone and you go, you know what? I'm awake now. Because hard work is amazing. Anyway, may we wish you an amazing evening over there in Boston, and all the people that have come in, and any advice you might have or anything that you feel that you would like to read about in the book as far as the messages or what resonates. And I've taken some fantastic advice from Paris. You will love it. She said, Henry, I've got news for you. Get real. The connection between the Holocaust and the 16-year-old Swedish activist and Trump, people are just not interested. They don't want to know about it. Let them work it out themselves. They want to know about good things, and they want to know about how they can impact with a ripple. Do you think she's right?
Absolutely.
Go Greta. Bye for now. See ya.
Bye.